please, Gary.
Brennan,
Here.
Chartrand,
Here.
Dahlhoff,
Here.
Hathaway,
Here.
King,
Here.
Colzer,
Here.
Mowerhand, Mosher,
Here.
Fawcett,
Here.
Tabo.
Here. Everyone stands, we'll have our invocation. Heavenly Father, you have brought us here together today for a purpose. We pray that we will be inspired with thoughts that will help benefit our fellow man and serve you, our Creator. We give you thanks for the gorgeous day. We pray for that the weather will help farmers in the North Country and across the United States as we get ready to harvest our crops. We pray for world peace amongst the world. Amen. Now pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should have received a copy of the July 5th meeting minutes. Does anyone have any corrections at this time? And if not, they stand approved. Report of the Rules and Legislation Committee for Rule 6. Gary?
Barry must have it. Barry,
Yep.
Not yet an hour yet.
I thought we had half an hour. We're not used to this hour in the morning.
The committee has met and they recommend the following action that to waive the rules to act upon late resolutions.
Moved by Brian and second by Larry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We go to privilege of the floor. With us this morning, we have Ann Merrill. Ann asked to talk to the board and to the public to make a pitch for the state fair board.
Yes. Jackie and I are hoping that maybe some of you would cover a shift at the state fair. We've got 20 shifts that are open, and they run from 10 to 4, 4 to 10. This is probably our biggest show that we do in the 7 shows that we do during the year. It's a captive audience. It's 75 miles away, so we have a lot of interest in our area for ATV riding, snowmobiling, and recreation. So if anyone can help out, just let me know, and we would appreciate it.
And could I add that it's not just the legislators, but this is anybody in the public that's willing to take the time and promote Lewis County. There's a training session for new people. And
Yes, absolutely. And we have reached out to our members too to see if any businesses would like to be there and promote their business and the county. Yes.
And when's the state fair start?
It starts the 25th of August and it runs to the 5th of September.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you, Ann. Is there anyone else for privilege of the floor? Okay, we'll go to presentation of communications and notices. Terry?
The board acknowledges receipt of a resolution adopted by the Onondaga County Legislature memorializing the state to enact legislation to stop unfunded mandates, returning the control to local governments on behalf of their residents, and a resolution adopted by the Cattaraugus County Legislature supporting proposed legislation regarding an increase in vendor fees at certain gaming facilities. The New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation Office informed that following a detailed review, the State Review Board has recommended to the Commissioner that the Old Laval Cemetery be listed on the New York State Register of Historic Places and then be nominated to the National Register of Historic Places. The Preservation Office has informed that the Talcottville Common School Number 2 has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And that concludes correspondence.
Thank you, Terry, and also the report of county officers and departments, Terry.
The County Treasurer, Patty O'Brien, and Real Property Tax Director, Candy Aiken, submitted an approved application for a refund of real property taxes for 2013 and 14 in the amounts of $84.98 and $85.27 respectively to Donald Dragon for property in the town of West Turin, and an application for a 2016 refund in the amount of $139.47 to William J. and Lynn M. Kelly for property in the town of West Turin. Legislators have received copies of the July 18 solid waste and highway audit reports and the July 13 minutes of the Youth Bureau Advisory Board. Public Health Director Penny Ingham has submitted minutes of the April 19 meeting of the Health Services Advisory Committee to be placed on file. And that concludes reports.
Thank you, Terry. And the reports of standing committees, still Ways and Means, Buildings and Ground.
This month, Liz ran the meeting, excuse me, and it lasted 42 minutes versus the usual 3 hours. So this told me something that I'll be brief. We had a meeting. Maybe I will add just a couple of things. Most everything is in our minutes anyway, but regarding the solar, National Grid has asked for more info after their initial review of the package, and Green Skies is submitting that. And Frank and Joan still feel like Green Skies will, excuse me, will be able to have it built and ready to go this year, but connectivity could be an issue because it's all up to National Grid. Also, we reached out to the Workplace Safety Committee to be sure everything that they wanted done that we could assist with was done, and he said yes, they were all satisfied with that. Jeepers, excuse me. Joan and I are going to kind of tag team on the Copenhagen wind project. You want to start, Joan?
Yeah, we did, about a year or so ago, we did have an agreement, term agreement with the other jurisdictions and with the developer, and then Phil and I think a couple of other legislators met with the town of Denmark and with the school districts to try to adjust the distributions among the jurisdictions so that it was a third and a third, a third. Because an agreement had already been reached, we weren't able to do that. So we now have a final term sheet because it's been so long, we've updated it. And the county's share is approximately 31%. While the school district Copenhagen is about 38% and the town is about 31%. And for turbines located in the Loudville School District, which are not as numerous, the Loudville School District receives approximately 35%, the county approximately 32%, and the town about 32.5%. So we're pretty close to the numbers, and we are ready to move forward with executing that term sheet.
The financial impact for the county, using a worst case scenario, the first year we'd get $207,000. In year 20 we'd get $331,000. That would be an average of $264,000 a year, and that's using the lower rate that Joan just indicated. To try to do a worst case scenario. So again, I would, just as an aside, I would advocate that we would share some of our funds with towns that don't have any direct wind farm money. And that's our report.
Thank you, Phil. Rocky, Social Service, Office of Aging, Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be brief, Phil. News from Department of Social Services. The Heat, Clean, and Tune program opened on August 1st. This program will cover the cost of furnace cleaning. To be eligible, you must be eligible for heat, own your own home, and did not have your furnace cleaned last year. If you received heat last year, you will need to complete a one-page supplement. If you did not receive HEAP last year, you may complete a HEAP application and the one-page supplement. Applications are available at DSS or by calling 376-5400 to request an application to be sent to you. To further reduce overprescribing of opioid medications, all Medicaid beneficiaries should note that effective July 22nd, initial prescribing of opioids for acute pain is limited to a 7-day supply per New York State Public Health Law, Section 3315. Office of the Aging, 2016 Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Approximately 100 of the initial 500 coupons are left for distribution. Call FOA at 376-5313 for details. Coupons will be issued through September 30th or until gone. OFA annual evaluation site visit by the New York State Office for the Aging is August 3rd and 4th, being conducted on all programs by the New York State Office of the Aging Services representative. OFA Advisory Council meeting August 9th at 2 p.m. at the DSS Cooperative Extension Conference Room. Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group, August 18th. This monthly Alzheimer's Support Group is held at the Maple Ridge Center in Lowville on the third Thursday of each month from 10 to 11. The group focuses on caring for someone with dementia and/or Alzheimer's, but any type of caregiver is welcome to attend. Call FOA for details. The Randy Streeter Senior Citizen of the Year Award. Do you know someone you'd like to nominate? This award is in honor of Randy Streeter, the founding director for the Lewis County Office for the Aging. Randy held the position from 1974 to 1991 and served with sincere and faithful dedication as a strong and vocal advocate for all seniors. Award criteria. Nominations are open to all adult citizens of Lewis County age 60 and over who have demonstrated an outstanding contribution to seniors of Lewis County, their community, or have shown a sincere and faithful dedication to senior citizens through their personal actions. Call FOA at 376-5313 to receive a nomination form. Deadline for all nominations is Friday, September 2nd. The recipient of this award will be recognized at our Oktoberfest and annual public hearing event and at the New York State Office of the Aging Annual Senior Day in Albany. Save the date. OFA's October 1st and annual public hearing on September 30th at the 3G Volunteer Fire Department in Glenfield. This year's theme, 50s and 60s Sock Hop. Call FOA for details and tickets. Youth Bureau. The Lewis County Night Out, formerly known as the National Night Out, is sponsored by the Lewis County Youth Bureau, Lewis County Sheriff's Office, Lewis County Opportunities, and Northern Regional Center for Independent Living. The event is designed to heighten crime and drug prevention awareness, recovery, and generate support for and participation in local anti-crime efforts. Please mark your calendar and join us for the 5th Annual Lewis County Night Out on Thursday, September 8th from 6 to 8:30 at the Lewis County Fairgrounds. And that's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rocky. Brian, County Officers, Veterans, Junkyard, HR.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the junkyard end, nothing different from what I had reported to you as last month. A lot of the issues that we have are still within Joan's office, and we're having, actually, and one of the things we're having a little trouble with is that when it gets to the town courts aren't following through on anything, so that's why a lot of these are lagging on. They don't, there's no, if these people don't show up for court, there's nothing being done about it. So we have to reach out to our town court system throughout the county, and we're gonna have to get in touch with these judges and say, listen, you know, we need these issues taken care of, and without your help, we can't do it. So that's one thing we're gonna have to do. On the HR end, on veterans, Derek didn't come and do his quarterly report because he had a couple of sick family members, so we'll get the quarterly reports at the end of this month. On the HR end, Liz has made a proposal for an HR policy change, and do you want to discuss that under new business, do you, Liz, or do you? It doesn't matter to me, so I mean, I think all of us, everyone should have received her email on that, so I know that sometime in this meeting, she wants to discuss the changes and get everyone's thoughts on that. And the last thing I have on the HR, and I have them in front of me, and I'll give them to you at the end of the meeting, I have the HR committee's put together the evaluation sheet for Liz, and we'll get that out. I'll get that out to you, and I just want your comments on it. There's changes we need to make and stuff because of the budget season coming up and all that, so, okay. That would be all I have, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good, Brian, thank you. Jerry, courts and law?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Radio, we're still in the optimization process. It's moving along kind of at a snail's pace. You'd like it to go a lot faster, but I believe the quality seems to be getting better and stronger there. Pagers, we did have an issue with Lowville, definitely. I mean, as far as understanding the background noise and stuff, and the weeks are starting to run together, but I traveled with one gentleman from E.F. Johnson, I think it was the week of the fair, last week, Monday or Tuesday or the week before. We started out at number 3 tower, run a bunch of tests coming down. He repeated just like the information we had from previous pagers, the phones at Firehouse, coming off the hill. The gentleman took the information home, come back the next day, run some signal strength, and as we were coming down through, we kept swapping towers to try to see if some are stronger than others. The next day, they made some changes from his calculations that night, and it's not perfect yet, but it's a lot better than it was. The other thing, where he got some white noise, they're trying to get out of it yet. So what they do is get the information, take it back, plot it with a program and stuff, and then try to match that, what it should be doing to that. Once this gentleman gets Lowville taken care of, he wants to use the same format, because what he figures, what he believes, is that once we find the problems and what we need to correct it in Lowville, that he can pretty much go to like Grove and Martinsburg, whoever's having problems, and use the same thing he has done previously for Lowville. So it'll speed it up, jumping back and forth and not troubleshooting one. He doesn't like to do that, so he's concentrating on one and then branching out. The other thing, coverage testing is pushed back till the 15th and 23rd. That'll be 2 weeks they've set aside for the coverage testing. That will, we have a criteria for the portable radios of 95% coverage. We're testing over 3,000 points. I think it's closer to 3,600, but don't hold me to it. It may take us the whole 2 weeks to do it, but the more test points we do, when you do the calculations, the coverage like 95, it's going to be a lot more accurate and reliable the more tests you do. The other thing is, I've talked to some fellow legislators the other day, and people are telling them they're having trouble with pagers and radios. One thing if you would do, which would help E.F. Johnson Wells and the county, is when people have some concerns they're not working, make sure they fill the paperwork out at their firehouse and it's gotten back into the county. That way they can go back out, because what we do is put GPS coordinate on them. And E.F. Johnson, excuse me, their people can go back out to that point and recreate it and then find a solution to solve the problem. So it would help us immensely that if we'd asked to make sure they turn that stuff in. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Quick question from Dick.
Yeah, Jerry Lovell had their meeting last night. Consensus was just as you stated. It's improved considerably. It's not 100% yet, but they're getting happier with it.
Yeah, it was, I mean, compared to what we went through on the test, I mean, it was poor, very poor. You can understand it now. I mean, I said at the fairgrounds, and I had my pager with me, and you wouldn't have said at the fairgrounds before and understood it.
So it's coming, it's coming.
It's coming, yeah. And right now, I think it's just that white noise, or the cyclonic noise, because you hear it start low, or go up, make kind of a circle, and then taper back off. But I think what he feels is they've got a solution for that too, so.
So Jerry, just so I understand, if there is weak areas, they may not find them where firemen or emergency personnel will when they're out in the field, is that correct? And that's why they should be notifying.
Well, as they've been making tweaks and stuff to the system, you know, we've had people turn in stuff like the radio's not working here or there. And it may be just kind of a intermittent problem. They may have a tower down and this and that. But we ask them to document it so we can go back and recreate that, make sure it's gone away. And as far as when we do our coverage testing, what the coverage testing says is that we will have 95% portable coverage over the total county. And the driving criteria is that any road that we can go to with a two-wheel drive vehicle is fair to test. Now, there's going to be some areas that unless we're willing to walk for a half a day to get out there, it's not. But you would assume if you're getting it off like the Osceola Tower back in Swonkett's Mills and that with all that, excuse me, timberland is, and it's coming off Osceola Tower, you should be getting it. There's going to be 5% of the county it doesn't work. And where it lies, who knows? I mean, the weak ones was Harrisville and southern part of the county. We did increase the tower height because if we didn't increase the tower height at that point in time, you can't add to these towers. So we pretty much done everything we can do as far as getting the maximum coverage. So we'll know when the test is over with where we're at.
Very good. Thank you, Jerry. Larry, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with a motion to authorize Planning Director Frank Pace to travel to Washington, D.C. to participate in Farm Days from September 13 through September 15, 2016, to meet with federal representatives to relate agricultural-related issues important to Lewis County.
We got a motion by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
We had huge interest this year in the CFA process, and we submitted several. One for the county with respect to the business park, 7 to individual private businesses, and 2 for the Restore New York program. So waiting and anxious to hear back of how successful we were with those applications. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, Larry. Right, taxation, elections, IT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I do that, though, kind of economic development, I had the occasion to talk with Pat Cummings, the attorney for NISAC, when we were at the Inter-County, by the way, at Benson Mines, which was phenomenal, unbelievable. And if that goes through, it's going to mean some revenues to Lewis County, but it's going to be very helpful to St. Lawrence. But the important part is that Mr. Cummings really, up until this point, didn't have a feel for how important ATV and opening up a trail system and the state forest trails was to this county and other counties. And he assured me that we opened his eyes and that he would be more diligent about pushing the issue in Albany. So that's encouraging. Now to IT, the only thing I have there is Adam told me that Mohawk has run 2 test sites, one at his house and one at Mr. Becker's, Dave Becker's, and Adam said that it's his opinion that it works well as any competition might offer for high-speed internet. So that's also a very positive thing for Lewis County to reach out to those people who up until now had no internet service to speak of. For taxation, there's a resolution that's coming up that I want to clarify before we get to that resolution. It's a 25-cent surcharge on mortgage tax based on a $100 value. That is not something new. It is something that was created 6 years ago by this board. And every 3 years, you're required to renew it or it sunsets. So just so that's clear, it's not a new tax. And that's all I have. Thank you.
When's the next step on the last mile internet?
I'm going to give that to Adam.
Right now, we've got test pilot customers. We identified 10 people that are within reach of the PSV tower. That test is going to commence for 2 months, and then we'll have to reevaluate and figure out what the next step will be as far as them transitioning into more of a commercial enterprise.
So it'd be at least next year, probably.
Well, the other piece to this is the grant through the state. So if the grant comes through, which we're optimistic that it may, then things are going to happen very rapidly because that'll give him the means to expand to other tower sites, throughout the county. So that's the big factor right now. For him to make his business model viable, it really is going to rely on that grant funding. The subscriber equipment, what goes in the homes of the customers, is very expensive, and that will help to offset those costs. Because right now he's been paying everything basically out of pocket. So once he figures out what the grant results are, then that'll allow him to build a business model and then move forward with it.
Thanks.
But we're optimistic that,
I will add this, that I know that the owner is ramping up his interviews for putting on staff up to 5 people to handle the customer load and also to provide a secure space for the equipment in Lewis County. That to me is a very positive sign.
Thanks.
Craig, your committee also reviewed the county policy of taxing municipalities, including Valville water plant. Could you dwell on that a little bit and tell us what the conclusion was?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a discussion, and I think it was a consensus of the committee that a decision wouldn't be rendered at this time due to litigation occurring with the city of Rome. But we have taken it under consideration and will continue to do so.
Okay. One, Dick.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to comment because I've had some discussions with other legislators, and I just wondered, in my mind, it still bugs me a little bit, do municipalities tax fellow municipalities? And so I called up NISAC, and the answer I got was it's quite uncommon, and actually the person I talked to said he hadn't really heard of cases where it's done. So we are an exception. So just something to think about.
Well, I don't think there was any concession on the part of the committee, correct me if I'm wrong, to not rescind it, that a decision was not made due to litigation.
Okay. Any other?
I got a different question.
Yeah.
Craig, on that mortgage tax of 25 cents, if that were to go away, there is still a mortgage tax? In other words, is this in addition to a mortgage tax, or is that the total tax?
No, that's an excellent question. There is $1 per 100 mortgage tax. It's mandated by the state of New York. I didn't mean to surprise you with that. They keep 75 cents. So whether or not we do this, that would continue going forward.
Any other questions for Craig? Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. much longer before the litigation is over with so that the committee can bring that back to the table and bring it back in front of the full board?
I can answer that.
Thank you. That's a good question, but I can't answer it.
The litigation is before the appellate court. We're set for oral argument before the appellate court in November.
So do you feel, Joan, that we could bring this proposal to amend that before your litigation, or, I mean, basically we're...
I think you all should understand the effect it will have, because the city of Rome has property in Lewis County. If you're going to exempt all municipalities, you're going to be exempting the city of Rome from paying the taxes on the property down in the southern part of the state, and it will have a very substantial effect on the county to some extent, but more so to the towns and to the school districts.
But why is it going to affect the town and the school districts? We have no connection between our taxes. If we decide not to tax that municipality, it's just the county part of the tax.
That's true, but in terms of the assessment right now and what's going on with the litigation, they're challenging the assessments. So having the county supporting that effort, I think, is an important thing that we shouldn't jeopardize at this point. And it is a loss, I think, Patty, it's a loss of about $175,000 or so to us. So it's,
To us, right.
To us.
That's probably the best advice we're gonna get for now, Greg. If you wanna delve into it further, it probably gets into executive session, you know.
Yeah, so we can
Chat about it more, but that's the time frame for the litigation, and then we'll have a decision, I would think within 60 days of the argument.
Dick, comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a recommendation that we, not to jeopardize the litigation, that we discuss this in executive session.
Okay. At a later date, you're saying, Dick?
Today.
Today? Okay. All right, then can we move on at this point? Greg, you're up for transportation and solid waste.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep it brief. I do have a motion to put forward for solid waste. We had a bid opening prior to the committee meeting for the recycle building improvements. The winning bid was from George Stat Construction of Alex Bay to do that remodel up there. The bid was $293,348. There was a little bit of concern from the other bidder that they didn't have the trailer included in that bid because the other bidder's bid was considerably more. I think it was 80,000 more, actually. Yeah, it was about 80,000 more. But the Bernier Carr did go through and, you know, they fulfilled everything that they needed to, including the trailer in that bid. So
Okay.
I make a motion to accept that.
Okay, Greg's motion is to do the remodeling at the transfer site, accepting the bid of $293, is that correct?
Yep, 293,348.
Okay, do we have a second? Craig Brennan seconds the motion. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, from Highway, we had a couple of tandem trucks. I believe there's a 1997 and a 1995 that Dave valued out, you know, what he would have gotten from auction roughly, and the value was $20,000 for the two. They're in pretty poor shape, but the town of Pinckney wants them, so we made an arrangement to take those food trucks in, and they will be covering it by plowing. That covers, that way $20,000 off the plowing bill, so that worked out well, and it helps the town of Pinckney. Cemetery Road Bridge is going well. The bridge money is coming through, and it's looking good for like Blue Street Bridge and possibly the East Road Bridge in Tenalite. Those are the two that DOT believes have the best options to get funding for next year or the year after. The other thing was paving. They've done 14.6 miles of cold mix. The shoulders are complete. 39.2 miles of surface treatment and 11 more to do. Starting hot mix, we have 9.5 miles they had to do. And they did help the Village of Copenhagen with the milling of Cataract Street and the hot mix when we were finished with ours. That way they didn't lose money. And let's see, anything else? Oh, and Pete's going to be putting out for a loader too. He wants to purchase because the loader's getting off up there too. So he has that in his budget. And that's my report.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Greg? Okay, Dick, hospital.
Okay, I too will try to be short, since I was eating lobster in Cape Cod during the meeting, but I got the minutes.
That made me cry.
The 2014 IDT money will be received within the next 120 days. They finally gave us a timeline for that. So the hospital will be getting $4 million of that. There has been no guaranteed timeline for the 2015, however, yet, and that's another $4 million that should be coming. Because the timeline's not there, I would assume that's probably coming sometime first quarter next year. Dr. Purcell has accepted the medical directorship of the ER, and he's working out an exit plan with his current employer. Mr. Hellinger reported that we had a gain of $448,114 versus a budgeted gain of $273,995. The year-to-date surplus is $2,030,949 versus a budgeted surplus of $1,810,693. The value-based payment quality improvement, VBPQIP, should be received in August, and we'll be receiving 1/12 of that, $5.5 million each month until it's all been received. There was 981 ER visits for June. That's a little below the current month budget. People seem to be being very healthy, which is a good thing and a bad thing, depending on whether you need the money or not. Acute admissions for June were about 20 below target. Observations were above target for June. Outpatient visits were above target. Accounts receivable has experienced another month of large collections from patient billing. That's great news for the facility, and the AR days are down to 45 days. I think all the time I was on the board, I don't remember it being anywhere near that, so they're making good inroads in that. Women's Health Services in South Louis Center, they missed their budgets. They're each down a provider right now. So the good news there is they missed their budget, but we're also not spending money on the other side of it. And lastly, the employees of the month, Joshua Froelich, CT technologist, and Brenda Alfano, CNA, were employees for the months of May and June respectively. That completes my report, barring questions.
Questions for Dick?
No, but a comment. I tweeted something out the other day that there was a study done nationally on the upstate hospitals and rated them, and Lewis County got rated extremely well by comparison to even upstate state university. And I think they should be commended.
Thank you.
Good. Andrea, Public Health, Community Service.
For public health, the rabies aerial bait drop will be occurring in August. This will cover the Black River Valley as it did last year. It is tentatively scheduled to begin on the 9th. That's it for public health. to community services. Mountain View Prevention Services has scheduled 5 informational programmings. They have been and will be open to the public. They also hosted a Narcan medication given to people experiencing an overdose training, which was attended by community members and agency staff. The Mountain View Prevention Services 2017 service plan identified 2 goals: reduce both prescription drugs and heroin use. Education will be provided in the schools and community. Credo Community Center is in the final stages of opening an opioid treatment at the Watertown Clinic. This will be overseen by Dr. Pisanello. In addition to the methadone, other medications will be used to treat the recovering addict. Currently, persons needing methadone are traveling either to Syracuse or Plattsburgh. The Prevention Services in Jefferson County was awarded funds to open a recovery center. The plans include a satellite in Lewis County. This will provide a safe, peer supported location for people in recovery and their families. And finally, the Mountain View Credo Behavioral Health and Wellness Center and the Lewis County Community Services are working together on an event for International Overdose Awareness Day. This is intended to increase understanding of heroin use and resources available. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Andrea.
Mike, I would just remind Rocky that you've got a couple
Mr.
more.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I forgot my motions.
Okay, we can do that.
On behalf of the Department of Social Services, I'd like to make a motion to authorize filling an existing full-time caseworker position.
Okay, moved by Rocky, second by Larry. Discussion? Craig?
I don't remember that in committee, Rocky. I thought there was a part-time position that went vacant. The guy resigned or retired. Well, that's that position that went back before
This is my
the,
next motion. This is a different motion.
And this, clarify this one again, Rocky, would you read your
Yeah.
motion again?
This
This is different.
Yeah, these are 2 different.
No,
Okay.
but he's talking about the one that just resigned was a part-time caseworker
Right.
for this position, and now you're refilling with a full-time, that's what Greg's asking. It's entirely separate. This is heat, these are heat, this is your
Okay.
caseworker.
I'm sorry.
We don't have anybody here from DSS.
Anybody here now?
But go ahead and read your first motion again, just to clarify.
Motion to authorize filling an existing full-time caseworker position.
Okay, and now is there further discussion?
that was a part-time position that they're refilling with a full-time before the position to abolish was put in play when the board abolished positions as they went vacant. And now we're gonna, I just have a question on why we need a full-time position when all that's being replaced really is a part-time position.
Greg, if I can
Liz,
chime in.
can you
Yeah.
help?
So the position actually was full-time up to about 2 years ago. The individual who was in the position, who was a tenured employee, requested when Stacy Alvord was here to roll back to a part-time position, which given the strength of the unit and skill sets and tenure in that piece of the organization, Stacy granted at that time. Now, this person has, this experienced part-timer has left, Jenny's request is that because of the lack of experience in the group and the turnover we've had in the group, she's asking that we raise that back to a full-time position.
What's the difference in hours, Liz? Is it like the 17 to 35.
One day. He was working 4 days. The previous employee was working 4 days. She wants it to go back 5 days, to 5 days a week.
Now, to answer your question, Greg, because the way it was explained to us, when the Board of Legislators at the time, when they put in that new policy about abolishing jobs, was in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, they told us, and this job was left on the board even though that policy was put in place, this caseworker. So this has been a vacant position that was never taken off from the books.
Yeah, I think there's,
understand, right?
agreed, Brian, there's kind of two issues here. One is, do we agree on replacing a full-time position with, from a part-time? That's the hiring issue. The second issue is the logistics issue of what occurred in civil service. And obviously not being here, I don't understand why this single position was left out there as not abolished. Mary Lou said it just was, so, but again, it couldn't be filled unless it gets your approval regardless.
Well, I still have the same question I just don't feel that I've heard any justification in committee really for that position to go full-time.
I think Jenny also said that there were more requirements every day.
Yeah, if you recall, during the committee meeting, Jenny went through a couple of additional New York State mandated programs that are being imposed upon the Department of Social Services. I don't recall exactly what they were, but they were certainly in the minutes.
And I do recall also hearing in the committee meetings from Jenny where the Medicaid part of this program is getting slowly taking parts of it away.
Right, that's a different part of the organization that will see a staff reduction as it has already and will continue to do so as New York State takes over more and more of the Medicaid.
But I still haven't seen enough justification to go from part-time to full-time.
Okay,
I'd
well,
like
I'm
to
not,
see more justification, number of cases this person's gonna have, are they gonna increase that? What are their actual jobs increasing by, to go full-time from part-time?
okay, well, as I said, the justification is to add 1 day in the week. I don't recall the exact programs. We can certainly share with you the minutes of the meeting, which I think you were at, where Jenny explained what the additional programs were that were coming at them, plus having a new person, and there are additional training requirements that individual has to go through to get up to speed.
The other thing to keep in mind is that the person, even though they were working part-time, they were still drawing benefits. So the actual cost isn't going to change that much. Either way.
It's still an added cost.
Could we take a vote on it?
Yeah.
Is it a funded position in the budget?
I'm sorry?
Is it a funded position in the budget this year, full-time or part-time?
It's a part-time position in the budget because we didn't know
It
this
was,
individual.
okay.
That's why you have to vote on
Yeah,
it.
so it's an increase to the budget.
There is a marginal increase to
Okay.
salary for 1 day.
Anyone have any relevant comments before we vote?
What are you saying, none of this was relevant?
No, I didn't say
Put you on the
that.
spot.
I didn't say that. I didn't want to change the subject. If that not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show two. Craig Coulter and Brian Moser opposed. Resolution,
Second
motion
motion.
passes. Go ahead, Rocky.
Motion to authorize temporarily filling a full-time community services worker to replace an existing employee who has been temporarily promoted, effective immediately.
Okay, motion by Rocky, second by Brian. Discussion. Do we?
This is your heat workers.
Yeah,
This is your heat workers that we do every year. That's what this is.
It's not new.
Any other questions other than Phil looking dismayed? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rocky. Okay, we go back to the county manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About a week and a half ago, I went to Syracuse to a NISAC meeting with my counterparts. NISAC gave us a summary of end of session results for the state. Some interesting numbers that the Senate passed 752 bills, the Assembly passed 1,041, 718 passed both houses, and 85% or 613 were passed in just the last 2 weeks of the session. So hopefully everybody had sufficient time to review what they were voting on. A couple of things that that NISAC brought up. They said don't hold your breath on getting reimbursed for the DA salary increase in this fiscal year. They don't see that the governor is going to change his position on that. We did have a very lengthy discussion on the proposal for indigent defense funding from the state. Both houses have supported it. Numerous media throughout the state have supported it. There have been innumerable resolutions that have gone to the governor. He has not signed it yet. However, one of the things I found out is that this is it's a 7-year takeover that starts mid-year next year, but it's only initially going to apply to the criminal court system, not family court. So that's not going to be a significant help, at least initially for us, because the majority of our cases are obviously in family court. They did say there could be some, and as I'm sure you're also aware, there is an eligibility increase, making more people eligible for the program. So I'm not sure if this is going to be an increased cost for us or not, when I was kind of thinking we were going to go the other direction. They said there's a high probability that the PSAP grants were going to get considerably bigger because a large funding pot, and I apologize, I don't remember the exact money, but it was in the tens of millions of dollars. We're going potentially into additional PSAP funding, so we'll have to keep our eye on that. One of the last things they mentioned was I guess this would be the Department of Budgets, that they've done something to tweak the sales tax calculation because, again, apparently there were a lot of complaints about the volatility in the sales tax numbers. Whoever did whatever to the formula, and NISAC wasn't exactly clear, apparently introduced more volatility to the sales tax numbers than less. So I think while we're pleased with our last numbers, I think probably a dose of caution is in order, just because we don't know how much they will be fluctuating over the next, I guess, forever. Just a couple of other notes that I had in here. There's, in that 713 bills that were passed, there's one for requiring 90-day notice to retirees of any health insurance changes. New pension service buy-in options for honorably discharged veterans up to 3 years. Requiring caseload caps for child protective service workers of no more than 15 cases per month per worker. The gas tax, they said, which I believe is about 20% of our sales tax for the first 6 months of 2016. The average price of gas is 17% lower than in 2015. If anybody wants to, and then the last two things they mentioned were, in the last couple of years, we know the number of nursing homes in New York State is down to about 16. That includes, I believe, 5 in New York City. NISAC has started an initiative with the remaining counties that still own nursing homes to begin discussions with the Department of Health on financing options as the IGT slowly disappears. So I told Dave Lucas that Dick, we probably want to have some representation on that committee unless through NISAC. So when I hear some more, I'll get to you on that.
Thank you.
And then they threw in the back of this, you're all welcome to have this document if you want to take a look at it. Some economists, I guess, in New York State were solicited regarding the impact of the minimum wage over the years as it starts to roll in. And the capital / Northern New York region was identified as one of the potentially disruptive areas where it could have a potential severe impact on job loss by the year 2022 when it reaches its peak under the current $15. So not good news, but certainly something we need to keep our eye on. And if anybody has, I'll just comment quickly on the HR policy that I handed out. Since many of you just got it this morning, you may not have had time to read it. The gist of it is that after sitting down with several of the department heads, HR, civil service, the treasurer, the way we do this now is, we first come to committee, then we go to HR committee, then we come to the Board of Legislators, then starts the civil service and HR process, which is lengthy in and of itself. It is not uncommon, as you can see in what I handed out, that it can take 2 to 3 months, if not longer, when you get through interviews and testing and whatnot, to fill a position, which can quite honestly be crippling for several departments because we are getting thinner and more efficient in our staffing levels. So the request is basically that all positions will still come through the BOL and have to be approved by the BOL, but that we start the civil service process and the HR process in parallel. The only thing we won't be able to do is offer someone a job without this board's approval. In addition, there's a report on the back that, as you can see, we tend to stumble through, I think, some of our HR discussions in here because we're not all looking at the same piece of information and have the same background, that we could provide a more comprehensive report that either Jim or I could review, or the chair of the HR committee could review, to go through, take the time to go through each of the requests that are outstanding. The other problem we get into is if we have somebody who leaves or resigns after committee and we can't get it into the next sequence, we can't even ask for permission in some cases until 6 weeks later when you have the next Board of Legislative meeting. That's a really disruptive process when we have that situation. So I'd ask you to take a read through that. We don't have to make a decision today, but if you can give me your feedback as you have time, and then we can maybe discuss it at the next meeting. If anybody has any questions, I can take them. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from Jerry?
Yeah, I have one. Have they calculated what the cost is gonna be to us on what was passed yet, or are they still in the process?
On all the bills?
Yeah.
I don't think they do that, Jerry. I don't think they do a financial summation.
Well, usually we get in from our department heads end up with it sooner or later, that if they're gonna get less or more.
Oh, you mean in terms of their state aid?
Yeah, as
Yeah,
far
I
as
mean,
budget.
that's our departments doing that as part of their budget process.
Okay.
But the NICEAC doesn't tell us what each bill is potentially impacting us. Not to my knowledge, they don't do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Brian?
Liz, on the minimum wage, when does that start taking effect?
I think that's, yeah, I think my impression was it already had started.
Okay, and then at what point is that gonna start affecting our wages here at the county, if at all?
Well, I mean, you can look at this report, Brian. What they do is they break out the regions, probably the New York State, into, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 regions. And they categorize it as mostly beneficial, may create difficulties, serious concerns, or potentially disruptive. And they benchmark it against kind of they assume the average wage here is in our region. And the bigger the differential gets, the more disruptive.
I guess maybe I didn't say the question right. And I understood that because you said that earlier in your report, but I mean here at the county government, at what point are them wage increases going to affect our wages here, if at all? I'm assuming that we have some people that are going to fall into that are underneath that $15 an hour wage now. And at what point are we going to have to start taking a closer look at that when these increases are forced on us.
So, Penny, I'm going to defer you. I think we looked at that when NICEAG was doing their research, and we didn't have an enormous,
Not at this point.
yeah.
In the next couple of years, because it's not right away. I mean, it's gradual. So there were a few people here, very few people at the county level, and there were a few more at the hospital. That in the next couple of years, they will have to meet the regulations.
And that's what I was wondering, so we're looking ahead at that.
Right,
So
in the next couple of
prepared
years.
for that.
From what I'll just say anecdotally, Brian, I think the biggest concern is obviously with the farmers, and number two, with our 501c3s, and people like home health care, who we depend on heavily in this area, who may be impacted.
Brian, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but I think January 1, 2017 is the biggest leap, and it goes from, I'm not sure exactly what the minimum wage is right now, but it goes from that to the high tens, like 1060 or 1070, starting 1/1/2017. So, and then the following years, it's a little smaller increases averaged out. This, my understanding is the big year for private industry.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Liz? Go on to the treasurer's report, Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just give you our monthly balances. Special contingency is at $249,168. Regular contingency is at $431,000. Capital data processing is at $130,081.17. Capital equipment, highway is at $137,213.98. County is at $238,999.93. Sales tax today is $5,057,023.50, which we are in good shape for meeting our budget. Hospital repayment, they are on time with a balance of $2.9 million. Internal Service Fund, as you can see, June, they had a slight increase, but with, there was a pens on the claims, so that really is skewed a little bit. They probably really did have a loss. So things are still not where they need to be. And that's it, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Patty? Okay, thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll run through a few of the events that I had attended recently. July 17th was the Adirondack Challenge in Indian Lake, and Michelle Ledoux and myself were there from Lewis County, and one of the highlights of the day was not only the nice weather, but having a nice conversation with our Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul. And she had intended to come to Lewis County a couple days later, but she didn't realize that our county fair was going on, so we pointed that out to her and offered a tour, and she graciously accepted, and she turned out she probably spent close to an hour at the fairgrounds, and it was very well organized thanks to Frank Pace and Michelle, and I assisted myself, so I think that went very well. The following day, Senator Gillibrand was at JCC for a listening session regarding ag issues facing the North Country. And again, Frank Pace, Michelle, and myself were at that. I was able to point out some things to the Senator that she took notes on and perhaps will help form the next farm bill. July 27th was the date NERCO was at the fairgrounds for their annual get-together. And at that ceremony, they did pass out numerous awards, and our Buildings and Grounds Committee was supposed to be there, but they couldn't make it, so they designated me to accept award on their behalf, and so I do have it with me this morning, and I'd like to present it to the committee, maybe Phil as chairman, but I know Phil would like to make sure that there's other people to recognize, like Frank Pace and Frank Archer, that did put in a tremendous amount of hours of work and into that parking lot, and what NERCO was trying to do was recognize that group for how much it helps them with their operation. They recognized 11 van accessible parking spaces at the DSS parking lot. So with that, I present this award to the committee, and Phil, it's the Barrier Buster Award.
That definitely needs to go to the Franks. They're the ones that did all the work on that.
Now, I'll leave it with you, Phil, and then you can present it to him. Rick, is that all right?
I guess.
But I know you did a lot in your committee as well, Phil, so it's all appreciated to all of you. Thank you. July 28th was the inter-county meeting up to State Ranger School, and I know Craig Brennan touched on it, but I got to hit on it too because he tried to explain it was just a great tour. It was probably one of the more enlightening tours we've had for an inter-county meeting. They took us to Benson Mines, Newton Falls, the J&L site, but just to give you a feeling of what we saw at the Benson Mill site, there's a huge pit there. They said it's like 2.5 miles long, half a mile across. It's filled with water now. But this is where they did all their mining years ago. And it's like 300 to 500 feet deep. And they said that when it was running full force, they employed like 1,200 people there. They used 7,000 gallons of fuel daily. They were the largest user of electricity in the state. They run all their equipment, including backhoes and whatever, with electricity. Right now, there's a 1 million gallon oil spill, or some of it's been taken care of, but there's continuing to clean up oil spills. The EPA's working there steady. But the interesting thing that Craig also touched on was the work they're doing on the railroad there, which actually runs through Lewis County as well. But they got a $10 million grant to get that railroad running again. And how this all works into the railroad, there's still all this byproduct material from all the mining they did for years, and they think they can salvage that or possibly even start the mill up again someday to do mining, I should say. But I suggested to the chairman up there that perhaps other legislators would like to come on a different date, as well as IDA board members, and he said by all means, let them know, and if it's of interest to any one of you, I think you'd really be impressed with the view, and you just have to be there to see it. And like I said, Craig and Terry and myself would, I think, all agree that it would make a nice road trip if you're interested.
What part did you tour, Mark, over by the J&L steel plant?
We started at the J&L plant, and I forgot how many buildings are still up. Do you remember the number?
11 buildings.
11 buildings are still up, and when you get there, it's just incredible to see. Imagine what it was like, and their goal is to clean it all up and have it. They said nothing's going to happen unless they at least clean it up and get it going. And the other interesting thing is the water. They said somebody asked if it was contaminated or what's the story on it, and they said it's absolutely pure water.
Chamber Larry Denisha told me that Pepsi tested the water 6 years ago looking for a source for their product, and it was too pure, so it wouldn't have any flavor, which is just astounding. But there's an active quarry there too, Mike. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Paul Mitchell has an active.
Yeah, and he is stockpiling fines of all sorts, sizes, And it's right on one of the railheads. So there's the other thing too is they said they had ecologists there, and they've identified some rare elements in that mining operation, so they wouldn't reveal what those were. Do you remember that? And also there's a great deal of vermiculite, and I don't know what else that was used for, but if you remember in the old days, they used it for the windows in the coal and wood stoves. But if we get a chance to go up there, I recommend you all do it. It's just breathtaking. And the other thing, the Bensons are environmentalists, so they're not going to allow any developments of that lake, and it's beautiful.
We do have some good pictures, right, Craig?
We do, well, yeah, we got some sand skipping too.
Okay. That covers that. There is one other note I'd like to make you aware of. One of my trips to Albany, I run into Brian Stratton. Brian was here a couple years ago to talk to us about the budget impact, present the state budget. Anyhow, during casual conversation, he invited myself and the board and staff members to take a tour of the barge canal. And that's coming up. They start inspecting it in August, and it runs right into the middle of October. So if you're interested in touring the barge canal from a tugboat, excuse me, from a tugboat, that's coming up in the very near future. I'll be sent. I can have emails sent to all legislators and whoever that if you got any interest, it'll be kind of interesting. Okay, and I guess that's it for my report. We go to the Ways and Means report for Rule 7. Terry.
The Ways and Means Committee reports they've examined the claims presented for payment in a total amount of $686,407.38 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Moved by Larry, second by Craig. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolutions.
First is to audit and allow the claims in the amount of $686,407.38.
Moved by Phil, second by Craig. Roll call vote, Terry.
Brennan,
Yes.
Chartran,
Yes.
Dahlhoff,
Yes.
Hathaway,
Yes.
King,
He stepped out.
Clauser,
Yes.
Marahan,
Yes.
Mosier,
Yes.
Fawcett,
Yes.
Tabo.
Yes.
You have the introductory law number 1, 2016, to continue an additional mortgage tax for mortgages on real property situated in Lewis County. Resolution 282 is to set a public hearing on that local law, introductory law.
Okay, moved by Brian, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Regarding seeker review, we added a new trail to the county ATV trail system and declared no significant impact on the Peckham charitable remainder property.
Moved by Rocky, second by Craig. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And Jerry, you missed you voted on the allowing the claims, so the roll call vote, would you be in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay, let the record show Jerry in favor.
Thank you. 284, fixing date of public hearing on additions to the ATV trail system.
Moved by Brian, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The version here, you see this has been withdrawn, the introductory number 2, 2016 has been withdrawn, and I have put on your desk the final version of that local law. .285 is fixing the date of public hearing on local law, amending local law number 2, 2009.
Moved by Jerry, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing addendum to agreement between county and Dyson Elevator Corporation.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To set a public hearing to obtain public input with reference to the Community Development Block Grant application.
Moved by Larry, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to Community Services Department.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Approving the agreement between county and US 3 LLC for access to county roads and bridge in Lions Falls for motion picture filming.
Moved by Larry, second by Craig. Discussion. Brian.
Joan, do we have a copy of your insurance and all that?
Yes, I have that, and I have indemnity agreement. They've been very helpful.
Thank you.
Was it Liz or Larry that's gonna jump off the bridge?
Both of us were following you, Bill.
We're all well lined
And this filming will start today, is that it?
Yeah,
I think this, they're awaiting me to contact them after the board meeting, upon authorization of the board to let them know that they can go forward.
Working on down there.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, District Attorney Department.
Moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Increasing District Attorney's salary pursuant to 2016 New York State budget mandate and judiciary law.
Moved by Dick, second by Jerry. Discussion.
I'm going to vote no on this, Mr. Chairman, not due to a lack of confidence in our DA, but a lack of responsibility on the state's part to fund it.
I'd like to second that.
Make a third that.
I can make
And
a,
I'll do the fourth.
make a comment that at our inter-county meeting it was discussed and it was suggested that we keep on lobbying for it so they don't forget it because it was relatively close. The Senate passed it, the Assembly just didn't get it out of their committee, whether it was because they didn't have the time or drive to do it, but the NISAC said that we should start lobbying for it as soon as they're back in session, so we should try to put it on schedule to do another resolution that the state take over the cost, maybe September, October meeting or whenever. And that was urged for all counties to do it so that we don't give up on it.
Mr. Chairman, do you need that in form of a motion?
Probably not, we'll just make sure we present the resolution in a couple months to do a reminder to the Senate and Assembly to bring it up again. Thank you. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Try that again. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are opposed to the resolution?
Okay, I need those opposed.
Okay, we better do a roll call then.
Brennan,
No.
Chartran,
Yes, because while I feel that what Larry said is true, I believe that it'll be retroactive anyhow, so she's eventually going to get the total money. And I just as soon not go through that process. I'd rather lobby the state to pony up the $30,000 to us. So I vote yes.
Dahlhoff,
No.
Hathaway,
Yes.
King,
No.
Colzer,
No.
Mowerhand,
No.
Mosier,
No.
Fawcett,
No.
Tabell.
No.
8-2, defeated. $292, transfer funds, district attorney's salary.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry, discussion?
Should we pull this, or do we vote on it because the main resolution failed?
You would
Can we
withdraw-
table it?
You would withdraw this one if you do pass the other one.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Okay, so,
Phil? Phil's the one presented. Phil, do you want to withdraw this?
the resolution is withdrawn.
293, appointing member to Lewis County Ethics Board.
Moved by Andrea, second by Craig. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Rescinding Resolution 199 regarding transfer to delinquent tax foreclosed parcel to Thousand Islands Area Habitat for Humanity.
Moved by Larry, second by Greg. Discussion?
Have we, excuse me, have we secured the building? Is it okay, trespassers and that type of thing? If it's in bad shape, it needs to be. That's
Good point. I don't know. Probably not. We probably should.
Shouldn't there be buildings
Should
We
we
could
have,
use the highway department, assist with that as well. Maybe we can work together on
I'll take, I think it's a codes issue, so I'll talk, I think it's a codes issue, I'll talk to Ward about it.
So can we turn around and sell this now or anytime, or do we have to wait for the tax auction
You can
next
sell it
spring?
anytime if you want. You can sell it anytime if you want to.
Yeah, we would just have to bring a resolution to the board to sell it.
so I would make a motion to go forward with that, to advertise this home and get it off our, get
I
it
think
off.
it's a good idea, Brian.
Should we handle this resolution and then come up with a motion?
Yes.
Okay. So, in regards to this resolution, though, I just, for the record, I'd like to put in there that, the reason that they turned this home down was it was cost prohibitive. They said that to have more into it than what the place would be valued at when they were done. So, but they did appreciate the effort the county did, but it just wouldn't work for them. Jerry?
Didn't they take the time to look at it before they stepped up?
They did a drive-by, and they didn't realize the foundation was shot until they went in the next day and looked at it.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Brian, would you like to make a motion at this time?
I'd like to make a motion that we advertise and sell this property that was originally donation to, or given to the Thousand Islands Area Habitat. So put this up for sale.
Okay, moved by Brian, second by Larry. Discussion?
As is.
As is, correct. And how would you sell it to accept bids or what?
Auction. Oh, Joe.
This was through our tax auction, so, you know, we really have to auction it. Let me research the law and see if we can hold a special sale of it, because I'm not sure we can do that. We may have to wait until next year's auction.
Maybe we can just do a
Unless we
sealed
had
bid.
somebody who came to us who was willing to purchase it.
Maybe we could just advertise it and do a sealed bid.
Yes. There's no reason we can't do that.
Okay. So, in your motion, say that we try to put this up for sale and whatever, however Joan feels legally fit. Okay,
Section 2 on what we just voted on, Mike, says that we intend to sell the property.
Yes. In the 2017 tax auction.
so this motion would
Just to do it soon.
this motion would supersede that and say to do it sooner. Okay, so are we all in favor of Brian's motion to allow pursuit of sale of the site? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Approving agreement between the Highway Department on behalf of the county and Boyd Albert Architecture, Engineering, and Surveying.
Moved by Craig, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate and transfer funds in Transportation Department.
Moved by Craig, second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to Lewis County General Hospital.
Moved by Brian, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate and transfer funds, Law Department.
Moved by Larry, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Legislative Office.
Moved by Brian, second by Craig. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Approving business associate agreement between the County Office for Aging and New York State Office for Aging under the New York Connects program.
Moved by Andrea, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Office for Aging.
Moved by Andrea, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To transfer funds, Planning Department.
Moved by Larry, second by Brian. Discussion. Jerry.
Yeah, what's that account? Is that stuff like the 50,000 we had in there?
This has become quite a complicated process. Frank, can you?
It has to do with, our 8-year ag review, and we had money within our community development account, and we moved $3,000 from that account over to the 8-year ag review because of the extensive mailing and information that we had to send out through the new district process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Approving the amendment agreement between the Public Health and Bernie Bus Service for transportation of preschool special education.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Agreement between Public Health and Building Blocks for preschool special education program.
Moved by Rocky, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between Public Health and EPOC Health Solutions.
Moved by Andrea, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Agreement between Public Health and Lewis County Hospital for medical consultant director.
Moved by Jerry, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Agreement between Public Health and the hospital for administration of occupational medicine program.
Moved by Andrea, second by Dick. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appointing member to Public Health Services Advisory Board.
Moved by Jerry, second by Rocky. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement with New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
Moved by Brian, second by Larry. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate and transfer funds, interfund transfers.
Moved by Phil, second by Brian. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
establishing user fees in the real property tax office for ImageMate online property and assessment web portal.
Moved by Jerry, second by Brian. Discussion?
Craig, my understanding is this is view only. They can't do copies from this.
Initially, yes, and there's a program in place where they're going to be able to.
And at that point in time, we would explore charging for those copies.
That's being researched now.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Because we do it, the other one, and I just want to be consistent.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement with ZareNet.
Moved by Larry, second by Brian. Discussion? Phil?
Is this an upgrade, Larry, or from what we're doing now? Or?
This is a process. We had Zare doing the ATV permits previously. When we went through the page group grant, the current provider was selected through that process. Jackie has run into major money issues every time we try to do a change, and we felt that it would be better, the administration would be better handled by Zare again, so we'd like to move it back.
Great, thanks.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Brian, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing agreement between Sheriff's Department and Thomas Reuters for subscription services for the library for the jail.
Moved by Craig, second by Larry. Discussion?
Jerry, I was wondering, I don't know if this has ever been asked before. This is for the law books for the library, correct?
Yes.
Is there programs out there where they could do this through the internet, or is that a security problem for up there?
We had talked about that one time because we might have been able to get a subscription where you just put users on and they go in there, but they don't want them to have access to the internet.
And that makes sense, okay, thank you.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
To appropriate funds, Sheriff's Department.
Moved by Brian, second by Rocky. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing discharge of mortgage.
Moved by Phil, second by Larry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to social services.
Moved by Jerry, second by Andrea. Discussion?
Yeah, I thought there was a motion made for this and we passed it already.
No, it's different. There are four separate positions. The two community services, the one community service one was to replace the existing, whatever that said there.
And we had the one case worker that we replaced, and then we made a motion for 2 community workers, right? Jerry?
Now, you're authorizing temporarily filling a full-time community service worker to replace an existing employee who has been temporarily promoted. That was the motion that you made. This is the 2 community service workers for the HEAP program for the 6 months. There were 4.
No, you're correct.
I
Thank you,
talked
Chairman.
about, I had to talk about it in depth with Mary Lou because I was very confused at how many and what. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We have two different
Right, but when I saw community services, I forgot that his motion was the temporary promotion, and that's to backfill the position because we promoted, or hired Larry Nasher up as the account clerk or whatever his position is.
Right.
So, all right, thank you.
Okay, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing contract award for armed security guard services at the DSS buildings.
Moved by Lockie, second by Larry. Discussion? Greg?
All right. Even though I sit on this committee, I was, of course, outvoted for this particular item. And I want to make it perfectly clear where I stand on this issue too. I'm in favor of employee safety in light of what goes on in this nation, I cannot support this expenditure when there are several flaws in this proposal. There are two unsecure entrances. The entrance at the main part of the building, which is where the guard is going to be, there is no metal detection. So if a person was carrying a pistol in a holster, in a shoulder holster underneath the jacket, there's no way of knowing it. So he can get into wherever he wants to in that building if he's a client. And then he can take care of whatever he needs to do if that's what he chose to do with the mental conditions that they have out there. And then I especially have a problem since our sheriff's department is just across the parking lot, less than 100 yards away, probably, or maybe it's 100 yards to a football field. And then the other thing is, this is an expensive item for what I feel is a false sense of security, since the two back doors are wide open, which could be there, in the sheriff's department, they could be there in just a few seconds after the use of a panic button. I propose possibly this would be a better solution to it, is to have a panic button, have bulletproof glass at the reception window if needed. That way there's no way that the receptionist is going to be in danger. The doors there are locked, so they can't enter those two doors up front. And with the sheriff's, I guess I'm looking at too is, it just shows the lack of confidence in the sheriff's department also. The sheriff, the village, the state police, with a panic button that could go off, that we could have 911 service there. I guess, what do we need the sheriff's department for? If you feel that they lack the confidence and ability to get there and take care of the problem.
Jerry?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from to a certain extent, but if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen well before you push a panic button. So I think what we're doing, and my understanding, we're sending an RFP out.
Already did.
Well, that's fine, but that's to give us the information on what it's gonna cost us to secure this. I do agree with what you said. I think one thing we need to look at, if we're gonna lock this place down and check people, we probably need a metal detector for what you stated.
Excuse me, let me just interrupt so I can answer that question of Legislator Coulter. The RFP was sent out. The security guard company has to provide a security guard also with metal wands. Everyone who comes in will be subject to the metal wand.
That wasn't clarified before, Joan.
It's in the RFP, Greg.
The guy was going to be behind the reception window looking at the cameras, watching who's securing the cameras then, watching the outside security. Parking, that's what was said.
The security guard will be right off of the waiting room. He or she will have the ability to monitor the cameras. He will also have the ability to use the metal wand on those who come in and out, including the clients.
So you're saying he has his choice to monitor. That doesn't mean he's going to necessarily wand everyone that's coming into that building.
He'll be directed to do what the commissioner decides is appropriate.
Okay, so how's he gonna watch the cameras for security purposes and wand people coming through the door at the same time?
I think he'll be able to do that a lot faster than a panic button and relying upon somebody else to get there.
Larry, you have a comment?
Mike, I wonder if we transfer this burden to the sheriff's department, if they can guarantee covered 100% of the time, or if that's going to increase the budget there to have a deputy there at all times. At which point, I'm guessing that wouldn't be 75% fundable from the state.
Was that considered, Liz?
Well, if we chose to hire well, let me start. If you want to use the sheriff's office, I think we'd have to go back to their contract because they're not security guards. That's not a classification we have in our sheriff's contract today. Secondly, we would be hiring people that I assume would then be employees. Now we're into the New York State retirement system and a lot more expenses. I'm assuming that if we did that, that would be a chargeback to the DSS department and we would get state reimbursement for it. However, I can assure you after talking to the sheriff on this as well that there would be additional expenses and additional personnel added to hire security guards, and we haven't talked to the union yet about pursuing that. If I'd also just like to add, I'm glad to hear that. I think we all agree that, it's our responsibility that when our employees are on our watch, we have responsibility to make sure they have a safe environment to work in. I think the question becomes, so what's reasonable level of security? These days, I think the bar has been raised on that for obvious reasons. I think we have to recognize that, number one, this is one of our most volatile environments. I think some of you have even had witness to some social media phone calls and some very disturbing behaviors that our employees have to deal with day in and day out at this facility. This is not an isolated request. Jenny has been, and Stacy before her, and the Workplace Violence Committee were put in place to look comprehensively at all of our facilities. This is the last one that we have that we haven't gotten to yet. We've done some things in the last couple of months, as you know, under the recommendations of the DSS Safety Committee, the Workplace Violence Committee, and also, quite honestly, New York State, to add cameras, to secure the interior doors. Greg, you referred to the 2 unsecure entrances. Those are unsecured, but they do have a secured entry into the DSS area. There was recently a report that was a review that was done of DSS by New York State, and I'll also remind you that we are the only DSS facility in New York State that does not have armed security. But they talk about lines of defense, and they talk about kind of the natural defenses, the building defenses, and then what they call security enhancements. We have limited natural defenses because it's a pretty much wide open building. The building itself has some security. It doesn't have the armed guard. It does have some secured locked entrances. And then we've done some enhancement. We've added lighting to the parking lot. We've added cameras. I would say this is a reasonable next step in the process of looking constantly at what safety requirements we have. That's why we have the Workplace Violence Committee. They are constantly looking at additional measures we need to be taking. We're going to be looking at active shooter training for the county. Same idea. It's a continuing process of having a safety culture and providing appropriate and reasonable accommodations to our employees to make sure that we are accountable and are doing reasonable things to accommodate our employees' safety while they're on the job.
I'd just like to add one thing. Although I agree with most everything that Greg says, but I think we need security up there. But I fully believe that if you're gonna do it, lock down the whole building. I now realize that your employees that are in the back part are in secure doors, but like Greg said, if someone ever came in with a gun or anything, it doesn't take much to shoot a lockout on a door and enter. If you secure the whole building, you've got control of everyone that comes in there. And I understand that cooperative extension is out there, but they're in our building, it's our responsibility to protect them also.
I'd like to comment also. My greatest concern is the liability going forward, but I'm sure you've looked at that, and it seems like you've vetted all the other issues. My thought on it is that you might be able to do a better job by putting a secure area, and you come in the building, everybody comes in that area, not allowed through that first secured door with any bags or articles of clothing. The only thing they might need in there is documentation or a pen. I'm just wondering if that isn't something that could be looked at. I have no problem with getting an RFP to see what it costs. And again, my biggest concern, if that person coming in there as an armed security officer is not properly trained and does something that casts liability on this county, that would trouble me.
I would like to recommend, Craig, that that's a good suggestion. Jenny's here, she can take that back to her DSS Safety Committee. I'd like to also recommend that you adopt the current resolution, and if you would like, we will take it back through the Workplace Violence Committee and look at additional enhancements to the other entrances to the building.
Jerry, you had a comment?
Yeah, the only concern I have, if we're gonna do it, screen the people, if they got it, take it away from them when they first come into the building. And I think putting the guard behind doors, watching television screens is the wrong thing to do. They need to be greeted by that person when they walk in that door, that's all I ask. And if he got something, take it away from him right there.
And I still find that this whole proposal is still flawed. You bring up metal detectors and all this, the wand, but the guy's got to be watching the cameras, and I still think really a bulletproof glass at the reception, so they're safe. It's locked doors behind. You have 2 unsecured entrances at the back that this RFP does nothing to, but if you had a panic button and bulletproof glass, I feel that the sheriff's department, being across the parking lot, would be competent. Otherwise, I guess if you vote that it's not, you don't have confidence in the sheriff.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I agree. This is a work in progress. We're having a good discussion. But on the same aspect, if you go back and look at the statistics, and when it happens, there's no way somebody's going to get there to stop the problem. It's usually over with in 6 to 8 seconds. So what the right way is to keep them from coming in there to start with. Whether we got to secure every door on this building and send them through one way, I don't know what the answer is. But on the same aspect, unless we put someone there full-time, whether contracting with the sheriff's department or a security company, once they get in there, it only takes a split second to do what they intend to do. So the best way is to prevent it. Meet them at the door, do what we need to do as far as screening. If they got it, that's where you take it away from.
Larry, you got a comment?
I'd like to offer a motion that if this resolution passes, that we allow the county manager and the county attorney the latitude to look into other enhancements in the building, including the bulletproof glass that Craig is talking about, and perhaps the secured access for the other doors.
I'd like to reiterate that we have reached out to the Workplace Safety Committee and done everything that they asked to be done. We want to help. If safety glass is called for or asked for, we'll do it. If we securing those other doors was discussed, as I understand it, and decided not to do it. But we were ready to do it. We stand ready to do whatever, but bulletproof glass is a good idea. We can do that. And we can secure the other doors with however you want it. You know, we're ready as far as buildings and grounds is concerned.
I guess the door issue, I still find it the two back doors. But I mean, there's other solutions like we've used in other buildings. I mean, if you look at elections, they have to buzz people in now. You have to, you know, through a speaker. You could do the same thing up there. You could secure that building at a lot less cost than this security guard. And I still have to bring it back to the sheriff's department location. I mean, let's face it. I mean, yes, there's problems in this country right now with people who can get a hold of guns. It's not the gun's fault, for sure. It's the mental stability. But even if you were in that mental state, I think having the sheriff's department right there would give you a second thought. Well, instead, let me follow that person when they get in their car. Then I don't believe they're going to do it there. More than likely, they're going to follow them to Walmart and shoot them there. You know, I mean, let's face the facts. You know, the sheriff's department's there. There's a whole bunch of cars. And there's quite a bit of activity up there. You know, during the work day. You know, I mean, social service is 8 to 5. So I really think the sheriff's department should be able to handle it. I don't know. The sheriff's here. Do you think you're competent enough?
I don't think it's a question of competency, it's a question of staffing.
No, I'll just.
Go ahead, Chair.
Just like Legislator King said, it's not about whether we're competent, whether we're there. It's split seconds. That's all it is. So that comes to that front door, we're still sitting in the office. Then the 911 call comes in, then a dispatch has already lapsed about probably a minute and a half before we even know what happened. So unless we see it or hear it, Mr. King is absolutely right.
Do you think a bulletproof glass and a panic button would curtail that for enough time to get there?
Sure.
Except that that's not going to help in the event that a client is in that waiting room and that client's significant other comes in and then shoots her or him and himself, which is exactly what happened in Herkimer County about 15 years ago.
Well, now you've changed it to we're securing all persons in the county. Now we were looking at our employees' safety in that building.
And we are protecting the employees and the clientele that they service, Greg.
Well, we can't protect everyone, I don't believe.
When they come to our building, we have to take steps to protect them.
Then I guess we should have buzzers and make sure that when this client who's here has an aggravated other person on the other side, we should be able to diagnose, figure that out, and not let them in the building at the same time.
Jenny, would you care to make any comments? This is your department.
Well, I know it's quite a volatile situation, and there's a lot of opposition and trying to do the right thing. The thought process behind issuing an RFP for a security officer was related to having a deterrent in the lobby. And absolutely, I will tell you that of the 5 companies that came up and did a walkthrough to then get to respond to the RFP, several suggested more than one security officer. The reason behind one was absolutely the cost. The camera system that Greg refers to is up and operational right now. It just tapes and no one reviews it. And it sits for 30 days. In case there's an incident, we can go back and look. So it may help with that. But it is also a mobile technology that is available on a cell phone that the officer could have with him or her in other parts of the building. We came up to this idea not in isolation of other enhancements that have gotten done in the building, and Phil is absolutely correct. A lot has been done in the last year, more than has been done in the last 25 years, related to lighting and walkways and all that. Our plan was to have the officer stationed immediately in the lobby so that they can greet, and I know it's a small lobby, but greet everybody and wand them. Craig talked about belongings and don't bring bags in. The situation is that we deal with homeless people sometimes on a daily basis at DSS, and their life's belongings are either left out in the rain and the snow, or they're brought in and then we have to figure out how to secure them. So unfortunately, the types of people that are coming to us that need our assistance may have some of their belongings with them. We are definitely asking them to wand everybody that comes in, including employees, and then they go from there up to the reception desk. The way the building is now designed kind of prohibited the lockdown of the back doors, because in order to get someone from the secure entrance at DSS back to the cooperative extension or soil and water, they walk through a secure DSS area where our computer servers are, where our reception area is, where our mail is, and things like that. That's related to the design of the building and will require a large project to rectify that. We all know that DSS has other issues with the building design related to the fact that our employees share bathrooms with our clients. There's no secure bathroom area in the entire building for any of our employees to use. So our main focus was deterrent-based, helping us create better safety plans than what we currently have. I am no safety expert. I rely on the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, OCFS, the Office of Fair Hearings that have come in and reviewed our security, and it suggested some of these enhancements. So that's where we are. I thought the RFP would be the most cost-effective route, given that when we look at the Sheriff's Department, yes, they're adjacent, and they do respond when we call, but it is a minute to 2 minutes. Sometimes they don't have anybody even there. Patrols could be anywhere to respond. So it is more of the deterrent method. We did ask the security company to make sure they have to build a working relationship with our local law enforcement, including the Sheriff's Department and the village police, as well as part of that RFP.
I'm gonna read, the only problem I have with this is that you've got the access to the back. You got soil and water, cooperative extension, every one of them is in our building. It's our responsibility to protect them as much. Jenny's office is back there, even though that they have to access it with a card. You got the workplace that's right at the entrance when you come in there. They're dealing with the same type of clients that they are out front. I'm only for that. I will vote for this, but I'm only in favor of it if the whole building is locked down. As far as the homeless people, they do the same thing up the jail. They can put lockers in the home, if they can put lockers in with keys, and they can lock their personal items in them lockers, Jenny. That's what they do when the visitors come up to the jail. So, I mean, there's solutions available there for that way you aren't allowing these people to come in with all their possessions, so.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay, the resolution is to approve the contract for the Armed Security Guard Service. So, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Show Greg Coulson opposed. Resolution carries. Now, Larry, you did talk about a motion.
I offered a motion to allow the county attorney and the county manager and possibly the Ways and Means Committee to look into further enhancements that, like Greg suggests, bulletproof glass and total lockdown of the building.
Is there a second to Larry's motion? Second by Jerry. Discussion. Dick?
Yeah, Mike, the motion that we just passed talks about armed security services from 8 to 5, and I've heard some of us assume that's one individual. I suggest we check that out because he's going to need a break, and you're going to have lunch in there. We're asking for services, so there may, I don't know how they're going to handle that, but I would like to know.
We have, in the RFP, we said we wanted somebody on service. I think we've made arrangements for them to have their lunch there, but it's up to the security company to provide a backup person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah, so that's all in there, and it's up to them, and this is the cost for them providing all of that.
Comment, Andrew? Oh, Sheriff, go ahead, Sheriff.
What are they gonna do for communication as far as with the police department and the sheriff's department? They don't have our radio. And the fastest way to contact us in case of emergency, obviously, is gonna be by a radio. Notify us right away. So that's an issue you have to think about as well.
Well, next question is, will that radio get out of that building if they have one?
Besides,
Will the radio get out of the building if they have one?
we don't know that yet.
Yeah,
We won't try
that's-
to, yeah.
We probably ought to.
That might not be an option.
Right.
Lots of flaws. Spend the money.
All right, we have Larry's motion to allow the attorney and Ways and Means Committee to look at any other possible security measures. Anybody have any other comments or vote? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Authorizing agreement between Pratt Northam and Lewis County DSS.
Moved by Jerry, second by Rocky. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appropriate funds, social services.
Moved by Larry, second by Rocky. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Authorizing an amended state environmental quality review form for the solar project.
Moved by Phil, second by Craig. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appointing member to traffic safety board.
Moved by Andrea, second by Larry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Appointing member to traffic safety board.
Moved by Larry, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending compensation plan with reference to treasurer's department.
Moved by Phil, second by Brian. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Late resolutions. Number 325, authorizing an MOU with Jefferson Community College for building an educational extension center in Lewis County with educational curriculum and programs provided and serviced by JCC.
Moved by Craig, second by Phil. Discussion? Brian?
Did their board meet then? They did, okay, because I know that's what we had for, okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Amending the compensation plan with reference to Lewis County General Hospital.
Moved by Jerry, second by Dick. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Supporting Fort Drum as the preferred site for an East Coast Missile Defense Agency ground-based interceptor.
Moved by Craig, second by Jerry. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
These resolutions.
If I could, we've all heard on the FDRLO asking them to go to their website and support this individually too. So even though we passed this, I would ask that each legislator, if you haven't gone to that FDRLO site and supported it individually, you do that as well. And anybody in the public as well.
Thanks, Dick. Larry?
Do we need to do anything with this local law number 2?
No. No, you just have it as a copy. That's just your copy. The public hearing will be on September
Okay. so-
4th.
Be in September at Constable Hall, where our next meeting will be held. You have other business? Dick, you requested executive session at one time, did you?
Yeah, I'd like one for attorney-client privilege.
I have an issue.
Did you have other business before we go into executive
Yeah,
session?
just a real quick one. I just want to ask the board if it's okay. In the process of doing the PSB water upgrade study, Frank Pace was able to get from the Department of Corrections the original drawings for the old jail. And it's been suggested maybe we should give that to the Historical Society for preservation, and I was wondering if the board was okay with that.
Any objections from any members? No. I'd say go ahead and do it then.
Thank you. 1930.
You have other business, Craig?
Just executive session for attorney-client.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Dick to go into executive session, a second by Craig. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in executive session after a 5-minute break.
I saw